everyone. You're welcome to another exciting episode of the Vetpedia podcast brought to you by Kachelan-Pharma Research Limited. And today I have another amazing guest with me. His name is Dr. Sanni Idris. And on this episode, we'll be talking about biosecurity measures and how we can use quality biosecurity measures to prevent infectious diseases in livestock. Hi, Dr. Sanni.
Hi.
You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Quickly, kindly introduce yourself to the listeners.
Okay. My name is Dr. Sanni Idris, like you rightly said. I'm a veterinarian by profession, and I've been practicing for the past 5 years, majorly in the area of livestock production. So it's an honor to be here with you today to talk about biosecurity and livestock production and be able to educate farmers about how they can maximize biosecurity and able to make sure that they have a good and a standard practice on their farm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sanni, for gracing the show. So, in simple terms, what exactly is biosecurity and what importance does it hold in the livestock farm?
Yeah, simply, biosecurity means the prevention of diseases from entering or leaving an identified area where it can pose risk if it's allowed to spread. So in this content of this discussion, when we look at the livestock farm, biosecurity will simply means that the prevention of exit and entry of disease pathogen or disease agent into your farm. So it's like how we do in the house, that we keep our home clean. When we go out, when we come back, we take a bath, we use disinfectant to clean our body so as to ensure that we don't bring germs from outside the home into the home. So it's almost the same way that we keep our environment, our farm clean so that we can prevent pathogenic organisms from causing havoc on our farm.
Okay. What are some common effective measures and approaches to achieving critical biosecurity?
Well, to achieve a critical biosecurity system on a farm, we have to look at it from an holistic way, because we have to identify the critical arms of the farm operations and then design a plan that is going to complement each arm of this, of the farm setup. For example, we have people working on the farm, we have animals on the farm, we have the environment of the farm itself, and then we have equipment such as vehicles and the like. So you have to be able to design a plan that would accommodate the people. So, for example, their hygiene, their clothing, their hand washing and the likes, and then the animals too. You have to be able to design vaccination program. You have to be able to know how to isolate sick animals. You have to be able to understand how to do regular checks. And for the environment, you have to keep your environment clean. You have to have point of disinfectant at a designated place on the farm, whereby people coming in and going out can disinfect themselves before entering or leaving the farm. And waste management is also important. And then at this side of this world, you need to be able to control birds, rodents, because those animals too carry pathogenic organisms into the farm. So this is like an holistic approach that you have to take to be able to ensure a proper, biosecurity measure on the farm. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I want us to look into the common mistakes, or let me just say mistakes and oversight that may arise. How can they be addressed?
Oh, okay. Thank you for that question. It's an important question, because one of the major mistake or common mistake that we are faced with my little experience is that once there are no issues on the farm, then these farmers tends to become ignore biosecurity measures during this good time. When the animals are healthy, they easily relax biosecurity measures. This can lead to introduction of pathogenic organism, because you feel that you are now doing the standard, and then you relax. The little moments that you relax, it can open a window for all these pathogenic organisms to cause havoc on your farm. One other common mistake is insufficient cleaning of and disinfection of equipment. When you use equipment, you feel because you cleaned yesterday or day before yesterday, it's not important for you to clean again. So that's some of the common mistakes that farm managers or farm attendants makes that cause introduction of all these pathogenic organisms. And then poor record keeping too is also a common mistake that we've experienced on the field. And then sometimes overconfidence in vaccines, because there are some things they call vaccine break, vaccine failure that can occur when you do them on the farm. So when you use vaccines, you should be able to cross-check for efficacy. You should be able to check the vaccine before you buy it. When you get to the farm, make sure that you protect the vaccine so that it will be efficient in what you want to do with it. So those are some of the common mistakes, and as we know, human error is also one of it. A lot of human error can occur, which can lead to disease spreads. So on the second part of the question you asked, that how can we address this mistake? It's very simple. Is that you develop a biosecurity plan and you stick to it, regardless of if you're having a good time or a bad time, regardless of if the animals are healthy or sick. You stick to your biosecurity plan, and then you do a regular review of the plan, that in case there are new developments in that area or new addition to the plan that you already have, you can easily incorporate it into the farm. You can also do routine training for your employers so that they can be up to date and know how to approach your lay-down plans. And then you have to manage your visitors very well, and then continue to improve on the biosecurity plan that you have. So that should be able to correct or address the mistakes that are earlier stated. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. On the same show on Vetpedia, we've talked about antimicrobial resistance. So I want you to tell us, can a relationship be established between biosecurity and AMR, that's antimicrobial resistance?
Thank you for that beautiful question. You see, I can say that basically a good biosecurity system would mean less dependent on antimicrobial drugs. A good biosecurity system is enough for you to reduce the load of antibiotics that you use on your farm. Because when you have a good biosecurity measures, your animal will fall sick less. Because basically, biosecurity practices are just fundamental in the preventing or spread of disease, like I said earlier, that which include bacteria and the like. So when diseases are controlled effectively by using biosecurity, there is the need for antibiotics will be reduced naturally. So this will in turn reduce or slow down the development of resistance to antimicrobials, because if you don't use it often, the organism will not be used to encountering them and then developing resistance to them. So reduce antibiotic use. Or let me just give you a simple breakdown of the connection. Now you start with reduce antibiotic use. When you reduce antibiotic, like I said, it's through strong biosecurity measures. This will break the chain of infection on your farm if you have a good biosecurity measure. So this will make sure that pathogenic organisms are going to be wiped out in a short period of time on your farm. So once they are wiped out and you stick to the plan, just like we said in the errors, that common mistake that we stated earlier, once you stick to the plan, you are assured that your animals will be healthy, and then you can only use antibiotics maybe based on recommendation on when there is need for it, you won't be using antibiotics routinely on your farm. So I feel that, in conclusion on this question, a good biosecurity measure is enough to cause a reduction in the use of antimicrobial and your antibiotics on your farm, and thereby directly reducing the opportunity or the instances of resistance to antibiotics on your farm. So that is basically the link between the two. Thank you.
Fantastic, Dr. Sanni. Okay, so as a veterinary professional, how do you think you and other veterinary professionals can balance the need for biosecurity with the need for a welcoming and stress-free farm or stress-free activities on the farm?
Thank you. To be honest, sustaining a good biosecurity plan is not an easy job. It takes a lot of effort before you can maintain this daily routine on the farm. So what I would say as regards this question is that number one is effective communication. Once you are able to clearly explain the importance of biosecurity in simple terms to your staff and how it protects both them and the animal, I feel they would take it easy and understand the importance of what they do. And then you also need to show empathy. Like I said, it's a very stressful thing to sustain. And then you also, want the collaboration between all the staff during this biosecurity, plan. So this would help them to understand better how important it is to, to share the burden. Let me put it that way: to share the burden of to share the burden of maintaining the plan within themselves. Once they understand the importance of biosecurity on the farm, that you've educated them, they would understand that this is a way of protecting the animals and the environment, and also making sure that they have a profitable business on the farm. So I feel effective communication is one of the best things to do in these regards. Thank you.
Okay. Can livestock farms stay up to date with the latest biosecurity guidelines and recommendations?
Yes, although it can be challenging for livestock farms to stay up to date completely with the latest biosecurity guidelines and recommendations, but there are some ways that they can try to stay up to date. For example, government and industry resources, some of the ways they can get information about the latest, developments in the field of biosecurity. So they can go through the Department of Agriculture, the veterinary associations, and some other industry bodies to get information. Also, they can also seek advice from veterinary consultants that is attached to their farm, who is going to guide them and tell them, how new updates are being, carried out. And then also continuous education is important. Then networking amongst farmers too. When you network within from one farm to another, you ask questions. How are you coping with this? Upsurge of this disease in your areas? Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And then you relate to your vets, and then they can also guide you better on how well you can manage these conditions. So there are several ways, like I mentioned, that farmers can stay up to date with the latest developments. So those interested and willing to have a standard protocol on their farm, they would get the right information from the list I mentioned. Thank you.
Okay. For me, when we talk about issues like this generally, or any other issue, I usually like when there's a real world example or a real world story, to further bolster the aim or the reason why we are having this, discussion in the first place. So can you share an example of a successful biosecurity intervention or program that you've seen or been a part of?
All right. Thank you so much. Well, I've experienced several interventions, but I will give a short, one that comes to mind now. Okay, there's this farm that I consult for, and then although she is new into the system, and then she didn't seek professional guidance at the start. She just met with some people, and then she had the money. They bought the farm, they bought the land, the construction, and all. So, but what was lacking was that they had different pens. They had like 3 pens of several beds of different ages. And then, so she had just 2 workers that feed and take care of the beds. So the issue started when the older birds started getting sick, and then after a while the younger ones fell sick as well. So when I got to the farm, I discovered that there was no distinct division between activities and equipment being used within the pens. So, for example, the pen handler would go into the older pen and then feed, do clean up, and then the same clothes, the same wears, the same everything, take it into the the younger pen, and then thereby introducing the disease agents currently being exposed to by the older birds into the younger birds. And then you know that young birds, their immune system is not as developed as the older birds, so they fell sick and they died in numbers. So one of the interventions that we did was that to first of all to have a distinct division between the handlers of the different pen, and then also make sure that there is no interaction between the utilities of each pen, and then have like a disinfection point. Even if you want to move between one pen, and then you have to disinfect your shoes, your hand, and then change your clothes. So doing this alone reduced the incidents on the farm, and then we further with some other technical aspect of the biosecurity. So this is just a simple explanation of the importance of understanding biosecurity measures. It's not like there is a written yardstick that this is how it's supposed to go, because each situation warrants different protocols. So it is when you have professionals on ground that they can advise you at the best protocol that is suitable to your farm needs at that particular time. So that is basically a simple explanation of how biosecurity measure can help you prevent disease spread from one place to another, just like we defined at the beginning of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful example. That's the major reason to continue to let people know how important biosecurity is on the farm. So, how can biosecurity measures be tailored to address the unique needs and risk of different types of livestock farming? Poultry, ruminant animal, piggery, and all of that.
Thank you. You see, just like you stated, I like that you mentioned the different types of animal. And like I said in the last question, each animal category needs different kind of biosecurity design. So you have to consider a tailored biosecurity measure for the kind of animal you are keeping. But for example, if you now have mixed production, like you have poultry, you have ruminants, then that means you are going to be having 2 different type of biosecurity measures on that farm. For example, you need to also understand the disease prevalence in your area. You need to understand the kind of production system that you want to use. You need to understand your farm layout, how you want to construct the farm to best suit the kind of production you want to do. You need to understand the kind of personnel that you want to employ or that you already have employed, how they can cope and manage the new structure of biosecurity system that you want to introduce. So, for example, poultry production is like a densely populated housing. Yeah, in cages. For those that are in cages, for those that are on deep litters, they are always they are always high density population. So the kind of protocol that we use will be different to what you use for large animals like ruminants that move around, compared to poultry that are caged or restricted to a certain area. So majorly for those people on the litter, on the floor, they might want to experience more of a respiratory diseases, more of a, and disease can spread easily. So the measures that you are going to design will be measures that will arrest such, pre-informed conditions that you expect to happen in such production. So measure that would prevent quick spread of diseases. You have to have disinfection. You have to make sure you manage the volume of beds per square meter. You follow the standard. And then you make sure that there are enough preparation against respiratory diseases. But for ruminant cases, for example, those ones are more of outdoor animals. So you have to ensure that the environment are free from ectoparasites, majorly the ticks and the likes that feeds on all these animals, which is not common in, or is not even seen in poultry. So you have to first of all understand the kind of animal you are planning to produce. Then you can now design a tailored biosecurity measure for your farm. So that is basically the way to go for that. Thank you.
Fantastic. I like that you went on full mode, to explain those points. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanni. As we move through the eras, we get more sophisticated threats. As technologies, as the world is advancing in general, there will be emerging threats, more sophisticated threats. So, are there any emerging threats, or trends and threats to biosecurity that farmers and veterinarians alike must be made aware of, and what means channels of effective communication and reporting could be adopted?
Oh, thank you so much. Like you said, the world is changing, and it's changing very fast. What is obtainable like 2 years ago might not be obtainable again today. So I understand the point at which this question is coming from. So, for example, the major emerging threats in livestock production currently, in fact, is also being reported in humans, is antimicrobial resistance. That's one of the major threats in the livestock production now. Antimicrobial resistance. A lot of drugs are now developing, disease agents are now developing resistance to them. So it's becoming difficult to treat diseases. That is where a lot of people are now making a campaign for ensuring good biosecurity system. Just prevents diseases from coming in, because we are not sure that when this disease come in, they will be the antibiotics available will be effective against them. So antimicrobial resistance is one of the emerging threats in the livestock production, because it's becoming harder now to treat infectious diseases. Also, like you all know, climate change is also affecting livestock production. The heat waves are now more than before. You have animals suffering from heat stroke, heat wave, and the like. So you have to make a lot of efforts during the dry season and the hot season to provide additional supplements to your animals to be able to weather the heat or hot conditions. And then globalization is also one of the emergency threats, because a lot of people might not look at it that way from the point of livestock production, because we are now having better land to farm, because most of the areas that were used to farming are now being converted to modernized estate and the likes. So farmers, either you sell your farm and relocate further away from the city or deep into the rural communities, which might not have good roads, you might not have access to feed, you might not have access to drugs. It might take a longer while for you to get all these basic amenities. So globalization is also one of the emerging threats to livestock production. And then some emerging diseases that they go and come, like the avian influenza, the African swine fever, and some of the threats that the livestock industry are facing at this current time. So you asked about the effective communication that we can use to adopt to help with this condition through reporting. So I feel that the communication and reporting system that we can adopt are numerous, because now we are in the digital age. We can have several digital platforms that offers communication as regards to livestock production. We have we have mobile apps now that you can easily get information from. You have the traditional media, you have the radio, you have extension service, you have the veterinary associations that you can easily reach out to pass information and report whatever situation is it on your farm, so that they can take prompt action against such and even government. There are several government agencies, the federal agencies that they look into this condition, that they request for reports from I'm on some WhatsApp group that they usually request from professionals that you send in your monthly disease reports. What are the diseases that you have seen in this month, so that it will inform them on how to provide solution to such in that area, and then know how they can tackle it as a nation. So those are one of the ways that we can effectively report situations to the authorities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Rounding off the show now, I'd like to ask last question. I'd like to ask one. Yeah. What are some strategies promoting a culture of biosecurity among farmers and ensuring compliance with biosecurity protocols? And what roles do veterinary pharmaceutical companies like Kachelan-Pharma Research Limited play in this regard?
Okay, thank you. I would like to start from the role of veterinary pharmaceutical company, because I also work with Kachelan. So what we have been doing is to do like an educational outreach to farmers in different zones in the country. So when you develop educational materials, although it has, because sorry to say, but some people like a lot of free stuff. So you have to be able to accommodate majority by ensuring that whatever seminar, whatever educational materials you want to provide are free to some extent and easy to understand, because it's not all farmers that are educated to the higher level. You have to be able to develop educational materials on biosecurity and prevention. And then what you can also do is also to provide products that is going to help in biosecurity of the farms. For example, we have organic acid like Biosecurity that you can use on the farm as growth promoters, and as a preventive measure, for you to reduce the quantity of antibiotics that you use on your farm. This is a way to reduce a lot of use of antibiotics if you use organic acid. So, but it's not everybody that is privy to this information. So through this kind of interviews and some other media presentation, a lot of farmers can be aware of alternatives that they can use antibiotics to help curb the menace of antimicrobial resistance. Also, some other strategies that we can use also, you give educational awareness. You also offer incentive, like I said, because once some farmers, once there is no incentive for them, they don't take it serious. But once there's incentive, a lot of people will take it serious. And then you do demonstrations for farmers to see that, because seeing is believing. You can have like a farm to test run all these products and suggestions that we said that, okay, this is farm A, is located at so location. Anybody can go there to see how they do. These are the products they are using. This is the biosecurity measure they are using, and this is the results they are getting. And you can also do it on your own farm. And then after you do all this, you have to do regular monitoring, because you have to monitor and evaluate the education and materials that you've dished out to farmers to know if they are, there's compliance. Sometimes, as for government, they can go as far as enforcement, because once disease starts spreading, it's going to affect not just only animals but humans as well. Because there are some, I'm sure that in your next episode you can do something on antimicrobial residue, because now we are now having antimicrobial, not only antimicrobial resistance, we are now having antimicrobial residues in food animals. And then a lot of people now want to, mildly cook their food. They don't want it to cook too much. Or even some are even, embedded deep into the tissue of the animal. So unknowingly, when you consume animal product that has antimicrobial residue, indirectly you're also taking the antimicrobial into your system. And also indirectly, the organism that's salient in your body will start building resistance to those antibiotics. So you see that everything is intertwined. They work together. So now there's now what we now call One Health, because nothing is now in isolation. Animal is now affecting humans, human is affecting animals. So we have to form a collaboration that would help us all to survive in this world. So if it's possible, enforcement should be in place, and then penalties too can be met out to defining livestock farms. And then you have to have traceability too, because like I said, you need to be able to do risk assessments, and you should be able to respond to disease outbreak as soon as possible to prevent the spread from one place to another. So I think if we can, do some of these things I've suggested, we'll have a good and healthy livestock production in the country, and then farmers will have a profitable business. The humans will eat healthy food animals, and everybody would live healthy. So I think this is the way to go. And then I hope that we'll be able to achieve this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanni. This has been super, super, duper insightful. And even me, I have a whole lot to take away from all this. Then also, I'll be putting in mind what you said about producing an episode on antimicrobial residue. That's a very good suggestion. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanni. And thank you to the listeners, to the audience for sticking it to the end with us. One thing I would say before rounding up the show is that hygiene, animal health and hygiene would never go out of style. So these are 5 essential, or let me just put it quickly, 4 essential tips to keep your livestock thriving. Regular veterinary checkups, proper nutrition and fresh water, clean living environment, and also good hygiene practices from you yourself, washing your hands, disinfecting the surfaces, and all of that. But you can listen to our previous episodes to get more tips and to get more knowledge on emerging diseases that could affect animal health. And with this, I'll be rounding up the show totally. Make sure you join us next episode. Thank you, Dr. Sanni.
Thank you.
Yeah.